Friday edition of Locked on Lions. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Eager from Pro Football Focus, and let's preview and get ready for Sunday's opener.
You are Locked on Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked on Lions, Locked on Podcast Network on a Friday, September 9th into Saturday, September 10th. Thanks for listening, making us your first listen each and every day right here on the show and the podcast. Thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, Eric Eager going to join us coming up momentarily from Pro Football Focus and our friends at PFF.com. Eric has been all over the Lions. He's a giant believer in the Lions on his Twitter feed at PFF_Eric. He's hashtagging restore it. He's all over it and is on the bandwagon. We're going to talk to Eric coming up momentarily. Also, an injury update for the Lions game against the Eagles coming up on Sunday. Not great news, but we'll see where this thing goes. Locked on Lions today brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Follow us on Twitter at Dery Speaks, DERY Speaks, at Locked on Lions on Twitter. The Matt Dery Facebook fan page where we post the podcast every day. And again, on YouTube, please subscribe to Locked on Lions on the good old YouTube channel and check us out on video. Got a lot of Lions fans angry with me on the YouTube with the comments because the other day, maybe it was yesterday, on the crossover podcast, I said Malcolm Rodriguez is 5'10 and slow. What I should have said was 5'10 and slow in coverage. Yes, straight line. He's a linebacker. He sees the running back. He's going to run. Yes, he can run straight ahead. But in coverage, backpedaling, recovering, not the greatest. That's what I said. That's what I meant. But whatever. It is what it is. Not all the fans. Not all of you can be happy with everything that I say. I get that. All right, here we go. We're here. We're here. Lions, Eagles, Sunday. This is the last show that I'm going to do before the game. I'm going to stick with my prediction, like I said yesterday with Louis DiBiase from Locked on Eagles. I think this is going to be one of those games where Vegas is going to be spot on. It's going to be like 27-16 Eagles, and the Lions are going to have the ball late with a chance for a backdoor cover. Like the game could end 27-24. It could end 27-22. I don't think the Lions are going to win Sunday. I've said it all week, and I'll say it again. I am terrified, with a capital T, at what the Eagles can do up front against the Lions' defensive line. They pounded the football for over 230 yards last year. I don't think it'll be that bad this time around. I think Malcolm Rodriguez will help out with the edge and with the ground game defense. Aiden Hutchinson keeping the edge, holding the edge along the defensive line. But I'm concerned. I don't think this is a great matchup for the Lions. I think Philadelphia is very good. And so I think this could be a tough one this Sunday. That doesn't mean that because they go 0-1 that the season's over and we go SOL and all this crap. No, not at all. Philly's a tough matchup for Detroit. They're good across the board. They've got good corners. They've added some players. Their offensive and defensive lines are good. And the news of the day today is that Tommy Cosmo Kraemer, is out Sunday. The Lions have announced that he is going to miss the game due to a back injury. So Levi Onwuzurike also out with a back injury. I know that comes to no surprise to many of you, including our buddy Kevin Kelly, who always listens to the show. But no Tommy Kraemer means what are the Lions going to do at right guard? Because now you're down to third string. Halapoulivaati Vaitai out 4 weeks. Back injury. Tommy Kraemer, who I think would have stepped in and played right guard, out with a back injury. So does Evan Brown start at center and Ragnow move over to guard? Does Sewell start at right guard? And does Matt Nelson take the right tackle spot? Does Jonah Jackson move from left guard to right guard and Logan Stenberg start at left guard? That would probably be my first choice. I want Ragnow staying at center, but Frank Ragnow is questionable. He's had a groin injury and admitted to the reporters today that were down there that he had an MRI. He did do a little bit of work today in practice. He was limited, but he's listed as questionable. Ifeatu Melifonwu, by the way, hamstring, doubtful for the game. Julian Okwara, hamstring, questionable. Frank Ragnow, groin, questionable. Chris Board, John Kaminsky, Austin Seibert, all full practice today. They're all going to play on Sunday. So again, you're going up against Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham and these guys and a good Eagles D line, and you're down to not knowing on Friday at 4:10 what you're going to do at right guard. And that scares me. I'm just being honest. Stenberg going to left guard and Jonah going over to right would not be the worst thing, I guess. I guess Evan Brown, we know, last year at center was very solid when Ragnow went down with injury. Moving Frank over to right guard, I don't want to do that. I don't want to see Matt Nelson, to be honest. But we'll see where the Lions start the game. They have got to establish the run and keep Hurts and that Eagles offense off the field. It's going to be tough. But there's something about Detroit right now. There's something about Dan Campbell and this team and how well they feel about each other and the attitude and the belief in Jared Goff this time around that this offense can be something really, really good. We'll have to wait and see on Sunday when this thing gets going for good. I'm excited to watch. That is for sure. All right, Eric Eager is going to join us coming up next from Pro Football Focus as you gear up for fall. You need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people that you want to talk to, faster and for free. I just posted a job recently for my firm, Financial Architects, on LinkedIn Jobs. It's easy. It's awesome. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job in the purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. It's awesome. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. Here's what you do. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? That's right. Post your job for free. Go to linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's what I did to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, folks, we made you a promise we would have this guy back on. Nobody has beat the drum louder for your Detroit Lions nationally than our buddy Eric Eager at Pro Football Focus. Here he is just 2 days before Detroit and Philadelphia in week 1. E, what's going on, buddy?
Matt, I'm excited for week 1. We already got a great game. And look, I don't know if anybody restored the roar more than Matthew Stafford last night in a 31-10 loss to the Buffalo Bills at home. That was, as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, I get a little worried watching Buffalo play that way.
Well, you've used the hashtag restore it. You've been beating the drum, like I said. You've had fun with it. You, Dave Salfaro, the whole crew at PFF. Now that we're here. And this is not an easy game in week 1. I know there's so much momentum for the Lions. It's almost like I wish Philly was next week and Washington was this week because I would say, the Lions will take care of Washington. But this is not going to be a layup this Sunday, is it?
No, I don't think so. I think the Philadelphia Eagles, in a weird way, the Eagles are somewhat similar to Detroit. Maybe they're just a year ahead, right? Like they're pretty good. I think the most optimistic Lions fan is saying, okay, we're really good at the line of scrimmage, right? And, you have 3 first-round picks on the offensive line. You have 2 first-round picks on the defensive line. Aleem McNeil is also a guy that I think people are pretty stoked about. And what you want to be able to do is control the line of scrimmage, have a quarterback, make the plays that are in front of them. And then you have some, skill position players who will make plays. And you'll hopefully be able to mask a bad secondary. That's exactly what the Philadelphia Eagles did a season ago en route to a 9-8 record against one of the easier schedules that the NFL had, right? Detroit, you go forward, and Detroit has one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. Before injuries, they were very good on the offensive line, I think, as far as projections purposes. And then, you're going to have to squint a little bit in the defensive backfield with Arouari and Okudah being the main guys there. So, Eagles take a step forward, and the next year they get the AJ Brown, who I think, Lions fans want Jamison Williams to be like.
Right.
And then you have the secondary guys. Devontae Smith should be pretty good. The Lions hope that guys like DJ Chark and Amon-Ra St. Brown will be good for them. Goddard and Hawkinson are sort of equally yoked tight ends. Goddard's a little bit better at this stage of his career, but he's a little older as well. So I think these teams kind of mirror each other a little bit better. Eagles probably just a little bit better version of them at this point in time, and that's why they're installed right now as 4.5-point favorites.
Certainly not going to help that Frank Ragnow is going to be a question mark. Doesn't sound like Tommy Kraemer is going to play for the injured Hal Vaitai, who would have loved to have gone up against his former team. How big of a concern when you guys do the research, especially with looking along that Eagles defensive line? A year ago, Philly ran the ball in Detroit. I know Detroit's going to try to do that to Philly, but with those guys possibly out, that's not going to be easy.
Yeah, the only, I think, saving grace, now, we don't know how good Jordan Davis is going to be at the NFL level. We don't know how often he's going to be able to play, but that certainly helps because the rest of their defensive line are better pass rushers than they are run defenders, right? Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. They bring over Hassan Reddick from Carolina through Arizona, and then you have the Josh Sweats of the world. All better pass rushers than they are run defenders. The linebacker group for, folks are like, they look at the Lions linebacker group and they're like, well, that's how people have looked at the Eagles linebacker group for a long time as well. And so I think if you are Detroit, you want to be able to control the line of scrimmage through running the football. You want to be able to run play action. You want to have the credible threat of the run. And I do agree the interior of the offensive line being out hurts that more than I think people realize. So that's really going to be the tough one because I do think that on the outside, Slay is a good corner, as all Lions fans know, and James Bradbury is a pretty good number 2 guy as well. But the issue here is you're going to have to you're going to have to make plays on early downs so that you're not asking Jared Goff to drop back to pass in the 7-step passing game against that defensive front.
Eric Eager, Pro Football Focus. Always love talking to him. As he'll be ready in front of the TV Sunday, in front of all the screens Sunday with the PFF crew getting ready to obviously watch all of these games. You mentioned Goff before. How big of a leap does he take in your mind under Ben Johnson and certainly the change at OC in your mind?
I think it's a big one. I mean, last season in the last, half of the there was the statistic, and I know passer rating is not a perfect stat, but we all know the scale, right? So, in the last 7 games last year, he was 3rd in the NFL in passer rating. I mean, he had a better passer rating the last 7 games of the year than Patrick Mahomes did, right? And that isn't to say he's a better player, for certainly, but what that means is like Detroit found a way to put him in environments where he could be successful, and I think that has always been. I mean, it was that way with Stafford as well, where when you put him in positions to succeed, that's a number 1 overall pick, and he shows it at times. Obviously, he handles pressure a little bit worse than Matt Stafford did, but that's part of my bull case on the Lions this year is that when you have a weaker schedule, as you said, you have Washington next, you have a Minnesota team who I think is a little bit overrated, et cetera, et cetera. If he's facing 2nd and 4 all the time, I like that for him. I like that for him a lot more. And he's going to face a lot more 2nd and 4s against this year's schedule than he was, in previous year's schedules.
It's interesting. The Lions have said they're going to open up the playbook more. There's going to be more down the field. Last year it was, let's just dink and dunk and hold the ball and hope at the end we can win. And it came close with Baltimore and Minnesota, as you know, and heck, the tie with Pittsburgh, Cleveland, close but no cigar type of thing. Do you really believe that, we're going to see some of that in week 1 with Chark, streaking down the field, Reynolds, and then obviously down the road, Jamison Williams? Do you think it's going to happen?
I think it certainly has to happen for them to be successful, and they have the ingredients, right? Depth of target is very much a wide receiver trait, right? So, it's very, when we look at Goff, he was a different quarterback when he had Brandon Cooks than when he didn't. He was a different quarterback, a season ago. The wide receiver group for the Lions was one of the most, desolate groups. They got Josh Reynolds, who certainly helped them midseason. Obviously, Cephas, he left early in the year with an injury. I think is a depth player for them. But you look at even the top guys now. Chark is a good football player. That's a 1,000-yard receiver. Amon-Ra St. Brown, even last year in the difficulties that they had, was almost a 1,000-yard receiver. And you look at, and I know people will say, oh, these games don't matter or whatever, but you watch the end of that Minnesota game, they have a 14-point lead. They give up a 14-point lead. By the way, they missed 2 4th down and 1s on their own end of the field. And they came back, and Jared Goff moved that team down the field and scored. Against Green Bay, they moved the ball at will as well. And then at home, they beat a playoff-bound Arizona Cardinals team by making chunk plays, plays down the field to St. Brown and Hawkinson, again, I think is a tight end that can really get down the seam for them. And the linebackers and safeties for this Philadelphia Eagles team, there's a reason that they had to trade for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson just a couple weeks ago to start at safety for that team because there was weaknesses there. So I think starting this week, they're going to have to go downfield. And I think that I think that Goff, when he gets in that play action game, can really be a quarterback that can throw the ball into the seams and make big plays.
Sunday, Jalen Hurts goes up against Malcolm Rodriguez. We will preview that matchup with Eric Eager from PFF. Coming up next, want to tell you, though, about our friends at BetOnline. Hey, BetOnline is your number one source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports info this season. Here we are, folks. Games, you want to bet on them? Check out BetOnline. Get all the information at their websites, betonline.net, and, of course, betonline.ag. All the latest football developments, the matchups, news, podcasts, opening week games, you want to know about them? Check out betonline.net. They're also your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. And it's not just the NFL. MLB's coming down to the wire here. MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. I'm on there all the time looking at that over-unders. It's still going to be 6.5 for the Lions win-loss. You can get that money down now before the season starts. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Eric Eager is with us from Pro Football Focus. Check out everything that Eric does on Twitter as well as he riles up the fan bases at PFF_Eric. Who's the most angry at you right now, Eric? I know last night you were picking on Stafford a bit. Who's angry with you right now?
The Vikings fan base always has a little bit of an orneriness towards me. And I think that's to be expected. I'm a St. Paul kid, I guess. So the Jets are one as well because the Jets got 4 top 36 picks. Only one of them is starting. And I dared to, my colleague and podcast host, George Shahuri, and I dared to question that draft. And, of course, we were called idiots and stuff. And now that Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson, and Garrett Wilson are all second stringers, I did crow a little bit yesterday. Of course, that can turn around for them. But the Detroit Lions fan base, I find it interesting because I've embraced, the possibilities with this team. And it all centers around that ad you just read, which is that it's not that I think Detroit's going to win 12, 13, 14 games, which, anything's possible. But it's that the market has them at 6.5 games. And it opened at 6. Yeah. You look at that schedule, and they should be able to win 7 or 8 games. And, in fact, in an NFC, if they get some confidence, and we know that this is not necessarily analytical, but we all know that, like, once you experience success, it's easier to experience more success. They can compound some good things here. I think that they can win 8 or 9 games. And I think the funniest thing is it's almost other Detroit. It's Detroit Lions fans that come at you and say, hey, whoa. We're supposed to be the ones that get our heart broken by this team, not some schmuck who just came in this offseason to bet they're over. So I find the Lions fan base incredibly endearing.
Interesting. Let me follow up on something you said. So, all right, 6.5. I said on Monday, I think 7 wins. I would, and I don't want to go game by game and do all that, but they should sweep Chicago because the Bears are pitiful. But what if Justin Fields pulls a Superman routine in a game and runs around and that could happen? And you said before, Minnesota, you're not that high on. So how do you, we know about Green Bay, but how do you dissect maybe the other two?
Well, the other one is Green Bay. The Lions get Green Bay in Week 18 again, right? So there's a possibility, like if you bet that over, Green Bay could be resting starters like they did last year, and you could get that extra win at the end. That's part of the handicap as well. Chicago certainly could get a game effort from. I mean, they the Lions last year lost to Andy Dalton on Thanksgiving, so like anything's possible. The Vikings. It's funny, like all these people. Talk about Kirk Cousins. It's like if you take the Lions games out of Kirk Cousins' Vikings ledger, he's like 6 games below 500, right? And then the Lions finally got him last year in Ford Field. I honestly think, like, again, all these things a little bit depend upon health for sure. And the Vikings get Kevin O'Connell, who comes from an LA team where they deployed a real stars and scrubs approach, which only works if you have good sports science and your guys stay healthy. And for the most part, the Rams stayed really healthy. The Vikings have been really at 15-18 the last 2 years, have really struggled with injuries. Danielle Hunter missed a year and a half. Eric Kendricks missed half a season. Christian Darrisaw, their left tackle last season, missed the first half or so of his rookie year. Adam Thielen hasn't been well. If the Vikings stay healthy, they're going to be tough to beat. But the Lions beat them last year, and for the most part, the Vikings were fairly healthy in that game. So yeah. I just think, again, I think going through the schedule and being like, oh, win, loss, that's a little bit futile. I think the games against the Bears, the Lions should be 60-40 in both games. I think against the Vikings, they should be 40-60 in both games. Well, that evens out to 2-2. If you go 2-2 against the Bears and the Vikings, you're probably okay, right? Because then you get the Seattles, the Jets, the Giants, the Panthers, all the teams that, you should be 65-35 against, especially if you are the team that we all think they are. And then you can catch, look, they're going to be huge underdogs on Thanksgiving against the Bills unless somebody's hurt for the Bills, right? But again, it's not beyond the wit of man. I mean, that Arizona team, if Arizona goes into Ford Field and wins last year, as opposed to getting their butts kicked by the Lions, yeah, they're the NFC West champions, and probably we don't see Stafford in the Super Bowl. So it's a pretty and that's why you have to run a simulation. And our simulation says the Lions are going to win about 7.4 games. They're going to make the playoffs 27% of the time or so. I gotta look back at the numbers, and that's really the bear case for me. Is just like those numbers are higher than where the market has them.
Tell me about here comes Jalen Hurts. Aiden Hutchinson's first game, and he's going to be going up against some RPOs. Brian Baldinger put out this video yesterday that I retweeted where it's like, man, the Eagles really handled the Lions up front last year. And I sort of said, this is what bothers me and what scares me because Brockers is back, McNeil is back, and they got shoved around. But Lion fans came back with, yeah, but we didn't have Malcolm Rodriguez a year ago. It's like, Eric, what do you think of this 6th-round hotness going on right now?
Well, linebackers are kind of the running backs of the defense, right? So and Lions fans know, look, Barry Sanders was a top 5 pick and he's the best player in the history of the franchise, and that's an outlier. But running backs, you can get Joique Bell was one of the most effective players in that sort of stretch of play when they made the playoffs a bunch, and he was undrafted. He was I think he was a Division II kid, and linebackers. You look at some of the hot top end picks at linebacker. Patrick Queen's not a very good player. Zaven Collins is not a very good player. Isaiah Wilson, Devin Bush, they're not very good players, right? You look,
you mentioned Hassan Reddick before, yeah.
Yeah, Hassan Reddick is a guy who had to switch out of linebacker to edge because he wasn't good enough at the off-ball spot. And you look at Gerard Davis. Gerard Davis is on the Lions practice squad. He's a first-round pick. Jelani Tavai is a high pick that never ended up making it. So when, I don't pay that much attention to draft capital when it's at positions like running back and linebacker because I just don't know if we're good at evaluating that position. So he could be fine. And, much like running back for offense, it depends upon what the players do up front for you. And I know, Charles Harris, when he was with Miami, he was a terrible edge setter, but he had developed into a good pass rusher. And I think that when you put Hutchinson on the strong side of the field, a very good edge setter, that's going to help the defense, right? When they just had Harris and they didn't have, a guy who is a strong side, edge player. I don't know if that was a complete defensive line. Now, are they a complete defensive line with Hutchinson? They're trending that way, and I think that certainly helps. The big thing for them is going to be can they get because defense in the NFL now is all about getting a stop on 1st and 10, right? It's all about getting to 2nd and 9, and especially when you're facing a team who's got a quarterback who's not in that God tier like Josh Allen and Mahomes. When you get a guy like Hurts into 2nd and 9, then then you're the bookmaker and the other team is the better. And I think that's really what you want to be in if you're the Lions. And I think having Hutchinson up front and another year of Aleem McNeil and so on, I think they get closer to having that opportunity.
All right, so you said there's no reason why maybe they can't win 9 games. Would that be good enough in this NFC? And we saw last night the defending champs, the NFC champs, looked bad. Yep. And that offensive line, boy, Stafford is going to be sore today. But is there a chance 9 or even, I wouldn't say 8, but would 9 and 8 make the playoffs in the NFC?
I think so. I mean, because when you look at it, it's, we saw last night, LA's flawed. Now I know they played the best team in the league. So LA's flawed. Tampa Bay, we're talking about the Detroit interior of the offensive line. Like Tampa Bay has every bit the problems, if not more, than Detroit has in there. They have Brady, but, and they lost some defenders. Green Bay doesn't have the wide receivers they used to have, and it doesn't look like Bakhtiari is even going to play this week. Elton Jenkins, a question mark as well. Lindsley left a couple years ago. They're not as strong there as well. And they obviously with the receivers, Dallas lost Tyron Smith, and you have an Eagles team again who the question mark is all at the QB. Those are the elite teams here. And then from a step below, you're talking about Arizona, Minnesota, New Orleans, who, they lost Sean Payton. I don't know if everybody's pricing. I think everybody's kind of taken for granted that the Sean Payton to Dennis Allen transition is going to be smooth. Sean Payton's a Hall of Fame coach. Like, this is going to be a tough one for them. And so my point is, not only do I think 9-8 is going to make the playoffs in the NFC, I think a couple teams that we view as, quote, bad right now, Washington, Detroit, even New York. New York's got the easiest schedule per our metrics in the NFL. I think one or two of those teams that we don't think is very good in the NFC is going to not only be in the playoff race, but make it, and probably make it with a 9-8 kind of record. And that's, again, my whole point about Detroit is you have a coach whose team loves him. You're going to play hard for him. That you have not like this isn't the Houston Texans, right? Who are just taking scrappy, bad, players off the
true.
field.
Yeah.
These are first round players who have just not matured yet to the degree that they want them to. Like, that is a buy low candidate that I really like in Detroit.
Eric Eager from PFF. We always love visiting with you. Have fun on Sunday. And hey, if they lose the opener, you can still do the hashtag. There's 16 more to go. So thanks, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on. This is so much fun.
Always. Eric Eager with us from PFF. Follow him on Twitter at PFF_. Eric, that's your Friday edition of Locked On Lions. We'll talk Sunday following the home opener.